As a Minnesota native, the Mall of America is no stranger to me. For those of you who don't know, the Mall of America is arguably the most popular shopping center in Minnesota, located in the city of Bloomington. Opening in 1992, it is the largest mall in the United States and the 12th largest in the world.
Tomorrow, when the Mall of America opens, there are going to be 270 stores to look through, but if that weren't enough, there are going to be 400 of them when this is all said and done and completed.
And we want to show you what the shopping area layout will look like for the Mall of America. The 4 anchor department stores, Sears, Macy's, Nordstrom, and Bloomingdale's, occupy the corners. Those are the anchor stores. Camp Snoopy, of course, is right in the middle of all of that, surrounding the theme park. 3 levels of shops. Now, there are lots of stores here, of course. But
I have years and years worth of fond memories taking place there, especially as a kid. Although things have evolved over the years, MOA has always been a cool place to go. Most notable is the 7-acre amusement park anchored at the center of the mall, known back then as Camp Snoopy.
It's the nation's largest indoor amusement park and is located right in the heart of the nation's #1 shopping and entertainment destination, Mall of America.
The amusement park was themed after characters from Minnesota native Charles M. Schulz comic strip, Peanuts. Owned by the Sandusky, Ohio-based company Cedar Fair, the park, then known as Knott's Camp Snoopy, opened in August of 1992 along with the rest of the mall. The park had plenty of attractions, including a number of rides. Some of these include the iconic Mighty Axe, the Kite-Eating Tree, Paul Bunyan's Log Chute, Screaming Yellow Eagle, and many more. The park also had rides for younger kids, such as a 150-foot loop mini coaster called the Little Shaver, a small iteration of the Screaming Yellow Eagle known as the Camp Bus, and one I loved as a little kid, the Frog Hopper, a kiddie version of modern space shot rides. One of my favorite attractions overall, though, was the Mystery Mine Ride, a seated 3D motion simulator accompanied by a large IMAX screen. There were also a number of food stands, arcades, and carnival games. The entire park was surrounded by greenery, lit by the overhead glass ceiling, which, fun fact, provides all of the heat throughout the mall. It was a great time for the kids of that era, and also fun for the adults that grew up with the Peanuts. Unfortunately, that fateful day in January of 2006, mall management announced that their contract between themselves, United Media, and Cedar Fair Entertainment Company had broken down. Apparently, this was due to Cedar Fair being, quote, unwilling to allow the mall to advertise the park in the way they needed to promote the business. The mall did hope to retain the name, though, given that Charles Schulz grew up in the Twin Cities. It was part of the Minnesota folklore, said Julie Hansen, a spokeswoman for the Mall of America. However, officials reported in an interview with the Star Tribune later on that the Peanuts were a, quote, tired property, frozen in time, and didn't offer many opportunities to expand or creatively stretch. Maureen Bausch, the mall's executive vice president for business development, stated it was a brand that could not be continuously renewed. On the 9th, the mall issued a press release outlining the details of the changes to come. Effective January 19, 2006, all traces of the Peanuts branding were required to be removed. This led to some hasty and sloppy rebranding on the notable Peanuts attractions. Being a regular park member, a few incidents I remember include the Screaming Yellow Eagle keeping its original name but removing all marks of the Woodstock character. The famous Snoopy bounce house in the middle of the park, the Snoopy being promptly removed, sporting a bare black base for several months before being replaced with the simple inflatable treehouse. The Kite-Eating Tree being renamed to the Tree Swing with the trunk holding Charlie Brown simply repainted, and the welcoming Snoopy Dog Bowl fountain had his name also painted over. The park tickets, with varying amounts of points, were renamed from the Peanuts characters Lucy, Linus, and Woodstock to animal names to accompany the wildlife theme, such as loon, duck, hummingbird, and butterfly. Personally, most saddening of these changes was the demolition of the Mystery Mine Ride. Now keep in mind, the park was still allowed to operate during the rebranding, so you can imagine the depressing feeling of coming back merely a week later and seeing everything that made the park what it was for nearly a decade and a half completely gone. Now I'll keep this section of the video brief, as it was arguably the darkest timeline in the park's history. The park began operating as the Park at MOA officially on January 19, 2006, parallel with the previous branding removal. Although most of the park had changed immensely, none of the ground floor rides were removed, so traffic was more or less unharmed. However, as I mentioned, there was just this depressing dark aura surrounding the park. Like Snoopy died and his ghost was haunting it. Okay, a little dark, but you get the point. The removal of the Camp Snoopy theme had upset a lot of locals, many of whom grew up with the Peanuts brand and hoped to bring their kids there one day. Patrick Adams, age 5, quote, looked visibly sad as his mother Angela explained to him that Snoopy was decamping. It looks like he's waving goodbye, said Patrick, pointing up the front paw of the inflatable Snoopy. And there were others, like me, who had simply grown fond of Camp Snoopy. The tacky rebranding of the amusements only added to the sadness. Aside from the superficial changes, though, the infrastructure of the park hadn't really changed, and because of that, the park brought in steady numbers through its limbo phase, averaging about 7.6 million rides a year, until their successor was finally unveiled. Back on November 2nd, 2005, Viacom filed a trademark with 555 Group to license and rename the park. And 2 years later, the plan was announced to rebrand the park completely under the new name, Nickelodeon Universe. Construction began on August 27, 2007, and similar to the process of the Park at MOA restructuring, but to a more extreme degree, the majority of the park was still accessible to the public. Signs and blockades were put up at the bigger parts of constructing, plastered with release dates and other information teasing the changes to come. And after 7 months of intense construction, Nickelodeon Universe was complete and open to the public. The grand opening drew in huge crowds in eager anticipation.
To the grand opening of Nickelodeon Universe, the first ever Nickelodeon theme park. Make some noise, everyone!
Headlining the opening were Nick stars Miranda Cosgrove of iCarly, Naked Brother Band's Nat and Alex Wolf, and Little JJ from Just Jordan. Oh, and Ashley Simpson for some reason. The most obvious differences were the changing of most of the pre-existing rides to accompany the Nick brand and their shows. The tree swing had been repainted and changed to the Backyardigans Swing-Along. The treetop tumbler became Jimmy Neutron's Atomic Collider. The Treehouse Bounce House was removed and replaced with a brand new SpongeBob Pineapple Bounce House. The fairly new Timberland Twister turned into the Fairly Odd Coaster, and more. Along with these changes came many additions as well. The still missed Mystery Mine Ride, one of the last films played ironically being a SpongeBob-themed 4D movie, before being replaced with Yogi's Big Rescue, was leveled and replaced with the SpongeBob SquarePants Rock Bottom Plunge. This one is a favorite, even if the ride is pretty short. Overall, this change is bittersweet. The new Nickelodeon theme attracts the current demographic of kids and young teens, giving that generation something to enjoy for the years to come. Hey, it even caters to my childhood. But at the same time, it hindered the nostalgia factor that made the park so popular to begin with. That being said, Nickelodeon Universe is a wildly enjoyable feature of the Mall of America, and brings families of all kinds together to have fun. And at the end of the day, that's what really matters. While all good things must come to an end, memories will live on forever. I appreciate you all for coming to watch my new series. Details for the information listed are in the description, along with my social media links. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.